Håfa,
tirow,
yakwe,
mogethin,
annim,
lenwo,
kaselehlie,
alii, and hello.
and thank you for tuning in.
Welcome to One Canoe Podcast, brought to you by Micronesia Climate Change Alliance.
On this platform, we will be discussing our climate justice work and community projects that help us navigate into a more just, sustainable, and culturally rooted future.
We are many islands
Many voices
on this one canoe.
Håfa, Guahusi Christian, and today I am joined with Minyeka and Cami, and today we are hosts for Ep.2 of One Canoe Podcast, brought to you by the Micronesia Climate Change Alliance. Today we are joined with our special guest, Phil Cruz. Woo! And I'll go ahead and let him introduce himself.
Håfa, guys, I'm Phil Cruz. I've been living in Guam my whole life. I was pretty much raised in Chalampago, but I now live in Tumuning I have two roommates, my partner, Louis Meskin, and our friend, Allison Hadley. She's the director for GAIN. I always feel like I have to add that when I talk about Allie. I PMBA, the Professional Master of Business Administration from UOG in 2017. I received my Bachelor's of Business Administration undergrad in 2012. I graduated from Notre Dame High School in 2008. Go Royals. And I'm a Leo. My birthday's next month in July. I'm a summer baby.
Oh, you were a July Leo.
I'm a July Leo, yeah.
So Phil, you're really awesome because you have been in this sustainability, making Guam green and our island more beautiful and sustainable for so long. So you definitely helped to develop and grow that student organization, which is still around years after you graduated from undergrad. And you've been such a big player for our island and a role model for so many when it comes to leading a more conscious and sustainable life. And we wanted to really find out in this episode today a little bit more about you and your own journey of being more sustainable. But when it comes to how was sustainability modeled to you growing up? And how did you learn about it? And how did you become passionate and even get your career to be about sustainability? And what does sustainability mean to you?
You know that, yeah, I've been asked that a few times, and sometimes when I think about why am I the way I am today, and I don't really know exactly why, but I guess it's everything, right? Everything in our lives, they all build up to who we are today. And I feel like for sustainability, it started with being resourceful and conserving resources. And I feel like I remember growing up, I always wanted to save power and save water and save paper, and I don't really know why. I remember specifically it was my dad who would always just get on our case about how much power we're using and water, and I always assumed it was I know that it was I knew it was expensive. I knew that we needed to save money, but I always just felt like we're using these resources and we don't want to use them up. And I guess at an early age I had an idea that these resources were not infinite. Where the water and where we get our energy from. And so I think I felt like I think also I don't want to sound like because I don't want to seem like I'm this great person, but I feel like I want to be considerate. I've always felt like I always want to make sure that I leave something for someone else. I don't want to take everything for myself. I try hard not to, because I'll feel bad. I always feel like this guilt if I use up everything and I don't leave something for the next person. So I think that's kind of how I always have that in the back of my mind with when I'm using resources, whether it's water, power.
I think that's innately a Chamorro thing too. I think that whenever, how they say, oh, that last piece of whatever, we always leave it on the plate. And I always felt like that's us just consciously wanting to remember that we want to leave something for either the next generation or for the spirits or whatever. But that idea of not wanting to take everything and not wanting to use everything up is, I think, I personally, that was modeled to me growing up. And I don't know about you two, if that's something that you were definitely aware of in regards to energy use or food, or just if that's a shared common Chamorro value, you think?
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned not a custom, not Chamorro custom, but like what do you it's not a custom where you don't take everything from the plate.
And you just leave that one piece?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Well, it's funny because I've heard about that growing up, but I thought it was because if you take the last piece, then you have to wash the dishes. So I thought that was. But
Yeah,
I love
true.
but your explanation is so much nicer.
Like wholesome.
Yeah, very wholesome.
Because we still do it at restaurants where we don't have to worry about the dishes. Like
Right.
it's like very much.
But it's funny because I think if my friends are listening right now, they're gonna be like, "Oh hell no! Oh heck no! Phil would take that last bite."
That's the Leo in you, maybe, I think.
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of opposite. Like, sometimes, like, I know that last piece is there, so I'm, like, kind of excited. Like, at least I know that last lumpia is going to be there for me, so I'm like, score!
No,
I'm the
one that asks, like, oh, does anyone have any interest in this last bite? And they're like, no, Phil, go ahead. That's yours. I know you want it, so. But that's.
I did want to ask another question about your childhood. Was there one thing that you've learned from your childhood about sustainability, about being considerate for the planet or other people, that you brought into your work in like outreach, or you've brought into your like day-to-day life right now?
That's what I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember like what lesson was I taught, or what like what show did I watch on TV that taught me that, and I can't really pinpoint it. Like I literally remember when I started playing video games, and we would I guess people born in the 90s, you would go online and look for the guides on how to complete a video game, and I would print it out, but I would want to make sure I would print it on either used paper or print it front and back. And I would literally like sit in front of the printer trying to make sure that I get this right, or make the font really small so I don't use too much paper, and I would be so angry at myself if I didn't do it right. And I don't know where that came from. I really don't. So I can't really pinpoint what lesson it was. I don't know if it was just me, like that's just how it was. There's got to be something. I'm sure there's something.
I do remember that commercial about like brushing your teeth and turning off the water or something like that. But yeah, I grew up in a very energy conscious house too, and my son too. I was just overhearing a conversation with my boy, like scolding his cousins, like, you don't pay the power bill, you should turn off the lights or whatever it was. But it was just like, yeah, I don't think that I was ever. It was definitely just something that was modeled to me about, really being aware of not just the money aspect, but definitely like all of these things aren't forever. Mm-hmm. And we really do need to make a conscious effort to take care of it so that it can last as long as possible for the people that come after us.
So like fast forward to now, like role models do you have, or like what people in sustainability or in your field do you like find inspiration from?
Peggy Denny?
Yeah.
Oh my god, Peggy, yeah. She's the real Miss Earth, right? For those who don't know, Peggy Denny, she's the administrator for the iRecycle program, and it's a local program that's been around in Guam for, I want to say since like 2008 or maybe even earlier, and it's a group of businesses in Guam who support this program that helps to collect cans at different schools around the island, and these aluminum cans that are collected gets sold for a profit, and all that money goes back into the schools. And so actually that's Peggy's who I learned all about like recycling and reducing waste, and the whole idea of zero waste is from Peggy. And yeah, she's someone who I would just reach out to when I would just need advice on different projects for my work at the University of Guam, and I feel like she's just someone that almost everyone on the island knows of Peggy Denny and all the work that she does, and we see her at all the different events around the island, like literally waist deep in trash bins, like sorting all the trash as much as possible, and you see her energy, and that she just doesn't get tired, she doesn't give up. She's always positive and happy, and I think that's something that's what makes her a role model to me.
Yeah, Peggy has been in the game for a minute now, but so have you. I actually met you 10 years ago, maybe 2011 or 2012, at the UOG Sustainability Conference, and you're part of UOG Green Army. But, what keeps you in the game so long? Like, what do you find most passionate about your work, and where do you find the fuel to keep on going?
I I think it's the team that I have at the Center for Island Sustainability and Sea Grant. I think I think the fact that we all really kind of share this common value, the common values that we share with sustainability, the love for our island, love for people, and caring for the future. Just being really caring and wanting to make things better. I think that's really what keeps me going. I know that I have been there for a while, and a lot of people think, I'm a millennial. I'm supposed to be like jumping around to different jobs, and I've literally been at that job since officially full time since 2012, and I'm still there, and I don't have any plans on leaving anytime soon. As long as they keep me there, I'm gonna stay there.
Can I cut in and just say something that didn't even make it to Fon? We recorded it in like a confessional, but we lost the footage. But I remember my first door into sustainability was actually, I don't know if you remember, Dr. John's, Dr. J's class. And I was like sitting in the front row with my two other friends, and I was just like, I need to get on this. Like, I don't know why I have plastic bags. I don't know why I'm using straws. I don't know why I don't have cutlery in my bag right now. Like, I need to get on it because the turtles are dying.
I remember that. I do. And it's funny. I remember we took a group photo, a class photo at the end, and I think you posted it on your Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember you followed us, and then I remember because I was managing the Instagram at the time, and I saw that. I was like, oh, this is the girl that, at the end of the class, she was super motivated and she wanted to promote us. And then we started getting some additional followers, and because I noticed that you were quite the influencer as well, and so thank you for that.
I'm blushing. No, but that was.
But I do remember that. I honestly really love hearing those stories when just people coming back and saying, Phil, like, I don't know if you guys know Josefa Munoz. So she was our sea turtle biologist at Sea Grant, and now she's with University of Hawaii getting her graduate degree. Yeah, she's actually on island right now doing some field work. But I remember she told me after she started working with us, she said, Phil, when I was a student, and I guess I gave the same presentation to her class at the time. She said she literally went out and bought herself a hydro flask.
Right.
And she was like, I cannot be buying plastic water bottles anymore. And so I thought that was pretty. Yeah. So hearing these stories, it's always nice. It makes me feel like, okay, I'm doing something right.
I'm not even kidding. I think after watching your presentation in class, I went home and I watched the Chasing Coral documentary because you guys recommended it, and I remember Susan Belly and all of that stuff that you taught us, and it was really like that,
an aha moment. Yeah,
right. And it takes, honestly, what was the most impactful part for me was that it just blows my mind how much passion and how much time you still put into it, even though it's something that you started from at school and you've made it a part of your life. So that too, that was something that was admirable for me.
Yeah, I wanted to you were both you exposed a lot to both Christian and Cami and their youth, and I think doing a lot of, and Micronesia Climate Change Alliance too does a lot of our messaging that's youth geared, and I wanted to see if you have any different strategies that you automatically know of and go to for different demographics and the generations, because sustainability is about, it needs to be all of us.
Right.
It really does need to be every single individual making those different shifts in their livelihoods so that we are using things saving things for future generations. So or even if do you have any challenges when working with different generations, and how do you I guess strategize your outreach for elders or for young kids versus they were fresh out of high school when they met you?
When we go out and do our outreach, I always try to think, who's the audience, who am I going to be talking to, and I always try to think what is most concerning to them. If I know if I'm talking to parents, right, parents of young kids, I know that they're concerned about their kids and about their kids' well-being. So I try to talk about sustainability, how it's important for us to be sustainable so that we have these resources for the future generation. So I'm hoping that it will inspire parents to make changes so that their kids can have, beautiful beaches to recreate at, and a beautiful island to call home and not a trashed island. And then for, let's say, the younger kids, I feel like they're just so much more impressionable. Like just kind of showing them. I feel like when it's a lot younger kids, I kind of just show them excitement, like saying like, these things can be fun. These things can be, like recycling can be fun, right? Be the role models in your household to your parents. And I think kids like to do that. They like to tell their parents like, mommy, let's bring our own reusable bag when you go shopping, or at the restaurant, we don't need straws at our table, kind of thing. And I think that's how I kind of strategize. I kind of just think about who's the audience, what do they care about, what would motivate them to change their behaviors.
Yeah, so you mentioned like reusable straws and bags. Can you also give the listeners like more tips and tricks on how to be sustainable? Maybe not spending money, but...
We were talking about this too, like what is like Phil's survival guide? But because you've been doing it for so long, one thing that we've learned recently is like buying is not the answer. Like buying reusable stuff is also not the answer. It's also like reusing the stuff that we already have. And then like if you go on your Instagram, which I also stalked today because we were looking for a picture of you too, but we know that you are an owner of cats. And so like as an animal lover, as a person who is like on the go, like doing outreach, and like you have like all of these reusable stuff with you, would you have like maybe top 3 things or top 3 tips that you would say is like your Phil survival guide?
Yeah, so definitely, thanks for that. What I always try to have with me in my bag or in my car, that to make sure that I don't use just the really easy, not easy, but the items that we really want to avoid, like styrofoam, plastic bags, plastic utensils, and whatnot. So I try to just have like a little reusable bag. So like any bag, and I'm pretty sure everyone has some type of bag at home. So in that bag, just put some type of food container, and it could be like an old whipped cream container, anything that you have, and then like a fork. You don't have to go out and buy a special bamboo fork. It could just really literally be a fork from your drawer. And a water and a bottle, like a bottle for water, because that's one thing that like I'm always trying to hydrate. I'm always trying to make sure I stay hydrated, and I'm so stubborn. I really refuse to buy water, like bottled water. So I always try to make sure I have my reusable water bottle with me, and I always try to fill it up at home before I leave home. And then when I go places, try to find places that have a water refilling station of some sort.
So your reusable bag, your reusable food container, and your water bottle.
And a utensil. Because I feel like with the way things are lately, when you're out on the go and you're dining out, especially like at a food court, food trucks, or when you take food to go, these restaurants will almost always give you like a styrofoam plate, disposable, like a plastic utensil, and then a plastic bag. So if you have these things, you can just let them know, like, I have all these things, I don't need any of the disposable versions, and then you're good to go. And you don't really have to invest much.
I know, I use a fork from home.
You literally can just get a fork out of your drawer. And...
She has like 3
in my purse, not even in a container. So another question I had too, and that's really great sound advice that everyone can start right now. And you have been doing, and you work in a really encouraging space that encourages that sort of behavior. But how have you seen over the last almost 10 years now doing this work professionally, how have you seen Guam progress when it comes to sustainability?
I think more and more people already have that initial awareness, like they are aware of these issues. I think what we need people to do now is I think we just need to encourage people to take action, like so people know that plastic bags are not the best for the environment, but maybe they're not motivated to bring their own bag when they go shopping. So we just need to motivate them, or what is the other thing I was thinking about just now? So it's motivating them, and then also giving people like the resources of they know recycling, like okay, I should recycle, but in Guam it's that if we're being real, it's really inconvenient. Recycling is not convenient here in Guam for a variety of different reasons that are beyond our control. But just giving people the resource, this is where you can take cans, this is where you can take paper, for example, cardboard, and a lot of times we can't take it anywhere. A lot of like plastic, for example, other other than saving 2s and 5s for your precious plastics program, and reusing these plastic items at home, there's really nothing else we can do with them. So it's just kind of giving people a resource and then motivating people to make changes daily, like daily changes, and build habits, build good habits.
You gave a little bit of insight on this in our last season of From Anonymous Foreigners, but I wanted to like just bring it up again too. And if you guys have any questions too, like what do you think insofar as like policy? Because right now we've been talking about a lot of individual choices and habits, but what do you think we need to be doing to move forward policy-wise when it comes to things like recycling and energy and just being all the more sustainable on our little island?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if you guys already talked about this in previous interviews or whatnot, but we do already have our plastic bag ban that's set for, so this year, right, we're non-biodegradable plastic bags are banned, and then January 1st, 2022, all plastic single-use carry-out bags will be banned, and then by, I believe, July 1st, 2022, paper bags will be banned except for food and beverage establishments. So that's already in place, and that's a great one for the plastic bag issue. I think the next step we need to do is now focus on like to-go food containers, because that's a huge one. That's like, especially because of the pandemic, it has, oh my God, I'm sure if you were to find the sales of the single-use clamshell containers, I'm sure it's skyrocketed because of all the to-go and especially with all the
commodities too,
go
foods.
Yes, exactly, right. We have like 3 services on island where you can get an app and have people deliver food to you, and they all come in styrofoam and plastic bags, and it's but people need to eat their food, right? But we just there are alternatives. It's just a matter of and of course, right, we can't, if you just say, if you just tell people like, oh, this is biodegradable is a better alternative, it's a lot more expensive. So that's where policy would help, because if there's a policy in place and it's required, then you don't really have that as a business owner. You don't have the option to use if you have to pick between styrofoam versus this expensive biodegradable, you won't have that option. So everyone will kind of just shift towards the biodegradable, and maybe hopefully with everyone going towards biodegradable, the price will go down. I'm hoping that's how economics works, at least. So I'm hoping like that's what will happen.
Yeah, so since you guys brought up the plastic bag ban, and like biodegradable plastic bags and other labels are like a really hot topic on like items now, can you tell the listeners about like greenwashing, what it means to you, and how companies use that against us?
Yeah, actually that's a really, if you guys have social media, I love seeing people's like TikToks about people who go to grocery stores and specifically look for products that they're trying to they're using greenwashing techniques, right? That's definitely something that is very interesting to me, and I see how these companies are using marketing and using green colors and using certain words to make it sound like these products are good for the environment. I don't know if I'm telling too many stories, but like I remember there's this one plastic bag that literally it's a plastic, I guess it's biodegradable, but we know that biodegradable bags don't do any, they're not any better than non-biodegradables. Ask any turtle. But there was a plastic bag, and it was literally like this really nice, like a greenish colored bag with this really beautiful planet with like someone holding it, and it literally says, "Saving the planet one bag at a time." And I just couldn't, and it's like but it was actually a really beautiful bag. Like the image was really nice, but I was like, wow, you're deceiving people into thinking that by using this one instead of, just a regular, another white plastic bag that's not biodegradable, you're really deceiving people into thinking that this one is so much better. And by you using that one, you can feel good about yourself that this is the bag that I'm using that the store gave me. And I think it's very sad. I feel like I hate that companies can do that and deceive people. I think it's kind of mean, to be honest. I feel like I think it's kind of mean. It's like you're making people think that they're doing something good and it's not. Or another greenwashing thing is like those bins that have like 2 holes, and they'll say like recycling and trash. But like if you were to open the lid, it's one container. And so you're just making people think that by putting your, let's say, your plastic bottle or your aluminum can into this hole, you're doing something right, but it's really not. And I think that's just me. And I really try my best to, if I do find those things, I'll post it on social media and be like, this is like, look out for this guy. This is actually not eco-friendly, or the carbon footprint is still the same, or whatever it is.
Before we continue, MCCA would like to let you know that we still have Fingayasi cookbooks available at our office. If you'd like one, let us know in the comments or drop a DM in our Instagram at Micronesia Climate Alliance to let us know that you would like an order. We appreciate all the love that you've been showing us for the cookbooks for the past year, and we hope to get out some more to our community. Now back to the podcast.
Yeah, that was supposed to come up as like conversation, but I was just gonna like ask, how does LGBTQ plus rights and environmental justice, like what role do they play?
Intersection.
Gosh, that one. I think with that one, it's people having different values, right? Different outlooks on life, and kind of how do you approach that, right? How do you approach somebody with, so like as a environmentalist, or someone that wants to reduce their carbon footprint, reduce their waste, and you see other people who are average people, just living normally, and using creating a lot of waste, not recycling, wasting energy, for example, and trying to talk to them about it. It is challenging. It is. You really do have to. For me, I think you need to be sensitive about it. You need to be cautious, because I feel like if you come at them aggressively, like I feel like, for example, in my experience, it's my dad. So he's like this older tomorrow man in his 60s, and it took years for me to get him to, like, for example, to bring his own bag when he goes shopping. Same with my whole family, but it's really trying to bring up these issues in a sensitive way, and kind of talking about it, how this is something that I care about. Can we change this? And then so now, how does that relate it to being a person of LGBT community, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of.
I also wanted to talk about how you take care of yourself and like mental health. We did come out of a really like stressful year, and I know too a lot of what you do. I know we said we wouldn't talk about your work as much, but like your work is so important, and a lot of it is like outreach and being in front of people and like talking to people. Was this past year stressful for you?
I feel like I'm very I feel very blessed that during the pandemic, like at least for 2020, I was really okay. I think prior to the pandemic, I think I kind of felt tired of how life was. I felt exhausted. Almost just from the 8 to 5 Monday to Friday work week, and the occasional weekends working, and then going out with friends late at night in the weekends, that kind of thing. I think I kind of got tired of that. So when March came, 2020, and I had to stay home, and I actually really enjoyed it. And it was, I know that's not the case for everyone, and a lot of people really were suffering, going through really hard times, and I want to be sensitive to those people and not say that it was a great year, but it was. I guess I really saw a lot of the pluses, the bright sides of having to stay home and having to kind of like really reevaluate everything and what's important in life. Like for example, my partner Lewis, he works in retail. He works at Tommy Hilfiger, and during when the lockdown happened, he was out of work, and but I was able to still work. Luckily, I was able to work remotely, and I remember him telling me that he feels like he felt like his job was not it was not essential. We always heard like essential businesses, whatnot. He kept saying it's not essential, and it made him feel like some type of way. And and I asked him like, what do you mean? Why are you saying that? And he was like, because look at that, like there's a pandemic, and I can't work because like my job is not essential. Like retail is not, at least for clothing, right? It's not essential. And it made me, really think like, wow, I'm blessed that my job, was considered essential, and I was still able to work. I was still able to earn money, and so able to connect with my team at work. And with him, he had to just completely, everything was completely cut off. Like there was no more working. The malls were closed, right? And so I feel like that the pandemic really made both of us kind of reevaluate like our careers at and what this pandemic is doing to us in our careers and how it's affecting me versus him. And am I answering where was this question going?
Definitely.
Okay.
I think I want to ask a question about inclusivity because you are in a gay relationship and you do identify, and I'm just trying to bring it back because you didn't have answers. Sorry.
Okay.
But I do want to talk about like how the environmental space and the climate movement and that movement needs to be inclusive. So how do you personally create the spaces of inclusivity? And do you think it's important in wanting to ensure sustainability and inclusivity?
Yeah, I think we were actually just talking. I can't remember who I was talking about it with recently. We were talking about just how with any movement nowadays, everything has to be inclusive, right? You can't leave any group out because I guess the world is so connected. Like we're all so connected, especially in Guam. Our community is so small. We're so connected, and if you leave out a certain group, it's almost disrespectful, right? Like you really do have to include everyone in the conversations for whatever movements that whatever agendas we're trying to push forward, whether it be in the environmental or social justice, whatever it is. You do want to include everyone, because we have seen in the past movements that were not inclusive and how that didn't work out. It failed, or it created more chaos, more almost it created divides in the community. And so I think it's important to be inclusive and to include everyone in all different demographics in our movements.
Has there ever been a time that you feel like within the industry that you weren't being included? Like it was hard to talk to certain people, or like did they give any pushback just because you're gay
Or younger. Or brown.
Okay, younger or brown, right? I know, right? I guess gosh, I must be I just live in a bubble, right? I guess it makes me feel very blessed and fortunate that I haven't experienced that. Like, I don't think I have. I think where I am in the world and in this time of the world, I'm very lucky that I like right now, 2021 in Guam, in this pandemic with our current leadership, I feel like I'm set up for success almost, and I think that I'm very blessed, and I hope that other young brown and gay kids out there are also, I hope we continue to have this type of environment for them to be successful in their futures and have their voices heard. So I think maybe 20 years ago, I don't think I wouldn't be this successful with where I am today if it was 20 years ago, but I think in today's climate, I am.
I think too, just that because you have that attitude of gratitude, where you just have mentioned so many times that you feel very blessed, that those blessings just keep following you, or you're leading with that, and that's a really beautiful just a beautiful way of being. And I think in sustainability and talking about wanting to have a regenerative economy or a circular economy, it really is about like being thankful for what we have right here, right now, and not needing anything else, not needing to buy this or that, but really just being and using all that you have. And for our islands, I think one of the last questions I wanted to get to too is like, what is your dream for sustainability and for our communities, not just on Guam, but in the larger Micronesian region?
Gosh, my dream, wow. I think with the way we've been connecting with how, at least here in the Pacific, with how much we've been connecting with each other, with all the different programs that we have, whether it's with the university or with BestPac, for example, bringing us together and being inclusive and sharing our values and sharing our cultures with each other, as well as with this environmental movement that's happening globally. I do want to say I feel positive that things are getting better. I know there's still so much work to be done. That's for sure. There's still a large group of people that probably don't feel the same way that we feel about the environment, about the climate, about social justice. But I think there's an even larger group that does care, and I think again it goes back to our leadership. I really do feel like the leaders that we have in place on our island and other islands, they do want to push forward positive change and with the environment, with social justice. And I think with that, I'm feeling hopeful and positive that things are getting better.
I think I'm glad that you mentioned that he's always saying how grateful he is and how blessed he is, but to tie it back to something that we said in the beginning, and we asked you like who your role models were, and you were like, ugh, I have to think because there are so many. I think something that I wanted to highlight is that you are a role model to so many young people who look up to you and who are like you, and like who maybe you might have thought of like yourself as like these kids 20 years ago, so like you're making such a big impression, and you said something about you were set up for success, right? And I kind of want to end on like a hopeful note, hopefully, and I wanted to ask you, with the work that you're doing now, what is something that you are doing at the moment to set up young men, young women for success?
Maybe perseverance. Like I think because I think when I do discuss like all these environmental issues, right, I always talk about these are all the challenges, but I also talk about the opportunities. Like here's what we can do about it, and we can do it. This is what we can do about it, and it's with this attitude. I think that's really important, is having that good attitude when you tackle any of these issues, right? Because if you tackle an issue and your attitude isn't so great about it, you're gonna be tired of it, and the people around you are gonna see it, and they're gonna see that, and they're gonna be tired of it too. But if you come at it with this positive energy and you this attitude of I want things to be better, and I want you to join me, I think that's contagious, right? That other people would appreciate that. Probably shouldn't use the word contagious during a pandemic, but a positive type of contagious. Always in the word positive.
I personally super appreciate your can-do attitude and spirit, because like doing climate work, it's so easy to go with fear. It's so easy to be like, we're doom and gloom and we're all gonna die, and unless we do X, Y, and Z. And I think that you and the work that you've done has made it so that it is more empowering, and that it is like, wanting to make everybody stewards and take that personal responsibility.
Yeah, I think that's what's important, is making everyone understand that, in order for us to solve a lot of these issues, we all need to do it together. And so I think kind of when I do my outreach and when I talk to people just in my day-to-day, I try to kind of let people know that all the things that you're doing is helping, even if it's something small. And so I'm hoping that that's like will snowball into them making more positive changes, or talking to other people about these issues and spreading that awareness.
So we want to thank Phil again for sharing his time and space and energy with us. I definitely feel really renewed and energized just spending that last time catching up with you. And we want to be ending every podcast with a little bit of canoe wisdom to help us move forward together. And that's the purpose of the One Canoe Podcast, is remembering our ancestors and remembering and tapping into that ancestral wisdom of the seafarers that came before us. And Phil said something really beautiful about inclusivity, and that we're all necessary and that we all have a purpose here. And in a canoe, when you are all on this vessel riding together out in the middle of the ocean, it is really important to remember that everybody has a role, and that everybody is needed, and that everybody needs to step up and take responsibility and caring for one another to get to that destination. And thank you again, Phil and Cami and Christian, for another podcast, and we can't wait for the next one.